Hey, Brandon here. Welcome to the channel and thanks for tuning in. The 2024 NFL Draft is in the book, so our focus here on this channel is the 2025 draft class from a fantasy football perspective. All right, my podcast co-host and I, Jason Devy, the two of us are each going to talk about 5 players today that we are excited about the 2025 NFL Draft. All right, in rookie drafts, potentially could be first and second round picks. That's what we do on this channel. All right. So if you play Dynasty, you play fantasy, Devy, C2C, whatever kind of fantasy football format, this channel is dedicated to give you an early look at future players, get ahead of the curve. Me and Jason, we scout these players all summer long. We got great series on the YouTube channel. And if you're interested in a product that's pretty cool, I got a database of my Devy to Dynasty dashboard. I've got players already ranked for the 2025 draft class, 2026, 2027 incoming freshmen. We're doing profiles on this channel and everything, and it's on a great program. Hit me up via email below. I'll give you a 2-week trial subscription. It's only $25 a year. It's super cheap, but it is in depth. A lot of all 22 film breakdowns, all sorts of good stuff. Check it out. All right, man, let's get to the show. We're going to give you 10 names today that we think are going to be exciting 2025 rookie picks. Enjoy the show. All right, Jason, it is time, buddy. Let's go over our 2025 NFL Draft My Guys segment of the show here. I am going to kick it off to you. I have mine in no particular order, but these are 5 players, guys, that you and I, Jason, are excited about going into the 2025 draft. Guys that, you know, maybe undervalued or maybe they're valued properly, but nonetheless, we're excited about them. I've got all of these guys, at least a couple shares on my Devy rosters. I'm going to turn it over to you. So kick us off for the show, buddy, on who your first guy is. And I know who it is on the list because I think I put him there because you've been Xing about this guy for 3 weeks. So please tell everybody who one of your my guys is for the 2025 draft.
I got to stop giving it away on X too much, but yeah, I'm going to the quarterback position. I'm going to a guy who is going to take over for Jaden Daniels at LSU this upcoming season as going to be Garrett Nussmeier. And one of the reasons why I'm really intrigued by this kid, one, when he's had opportunity, he's performed really well. At the Wisconsin game, you saw some really good highlights of what he could be at the next level. He threw, when asked to throw NFL throws, he did a very good job of that. I think there's some timing and rhythm with his receivers that was a little bit off, but that's going to happen when you're back up and you get into gameplay and you're asked to, work with these guys. But really, I think he's got arm strength. I know some people question the arm strength a little bit. I think he's got a cannon from what I saw. It was actually the Arkansas game back in 2021 that I went to go watch because I want to get enough film and idea of what this kid could be. And throwing on the run with a strong arm, accurate to the sideline, saw that deep throw into the back end zone. He put it where only his receiver could get it. So I think there's a lot of upside with this kid. I'm not too sure about the athletic ability. Haven't really seen that on display yet. But knowing that he's got, a left tackle that's a top 5 NFL draft pick going into next season, and Campbell, I like Kyron Lacy. I think he's going to take the next step. He's got a couple transfers in there too. I think that he could really do some damage and really elevate his game and be one of these guys, kind of like Gene Daniels was, where we weren't talking about him. And then all of a sudden, sure enough, he has a stellar season. I think that could be Garrett Nussmeier. And I want to make sure that, I'm identifying him before the season starts because I really think this could be one of those guys that just comes out of nowhere. And we're going to be talking about him as one of the top guys going to next year's draft.
I can feel your excitement.
I love it.
I can feel
I
it.
absolutely love it.
Now I saw
He's fun.
I saw a poll on X where someone put out there like, who has the best chance of being a first round pick, and it was Nussmeier, and it was Milroe, Ewers, and somebody else, and Nussmeier won the vote. And I was like, get the hell out!
I didn't even see that.
Oh, wow. I was like, I actually responded to this is bonkers. I mean, the kid hasn't even played.
Yeah, that's a lot of projection.
I mean, a lot of projection is a first round pick. I think if he does really well, he has a chance, but I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back for the 2026 season to get more reps in college. But in any case, my first guy that I want to talk about is Damian Martinez. I'm all in on Damian Martinez. The more I watch this kid play, he has got everything that I want in a running back. He's got size, he's got sweet feet, he's got vision, balance, toughness, forward lean, fights for every yard. And I think he's just a complete skill set, three down back. He didn't get a lot of passes last year, only got 11 balls out of the backfield, but I think he looks natural catching the ball. He's transferring to Miami after playing, 2 seasons at Oregon State. And I think he's going to go down there, Miami, playing in the ACC now. Anytime you can get out of the Pac-12, I'm in favor of that and playing, on this side of the country. But I'll tell you what, I like this kid, and I think he's a big sleeper for me. I mean, I got him, I think he's number 5 for me right now in my running back ranks, and I won't be
Mm.
surprised if he's higher than that. But I like Martinez, man. I think he brings a full bell cow skill set to the table, and it's got that physicality that I love, brother. So I'm
Wow.
Damian Martinez is my guy.
It's a great spot in Miami. I can't disagree with you. The only thing I really don't like about Damian Martinez, and it really upsets me, is he's eating into my Mark Fletcher shares. So
Mhm.
hopefully he lets Mark Fletcher have the ball every now and then, but that would probably be one thing. But I think that's a great call with him. I'm going to go to the running back position too. I'm going over to Clemson, and I'm going with Phil Maffa. Will Shipley is off to the NFL, and it leaves Phil Maffa to finally get a full workload. He was one of the highly regarded recruits coming out when he was coming out of high school. And sure, when you watch the film, maybe he doesn't have elite speed. Like I can just say that right
Mhm.
now. But what I do like is the fact that he's a quick decision maker. So even if the speed is not there to break away long runs, I like the initial acceleration with the mental processing to make good decisions. And we saw that when Will Shipley was hurt. Phil
Mhm.
Maffa took the games over. I mean, he put Clemson on his back because Clemson couldn't have an identity. But sure enough, I mean, against Kentucky, he had 4 touchdowns. Like, there's a lot to Phil Maffa, I think, that will translate over to the NFL, especially with his play strength as well. Just a
Yeah.
very physical, bruising running back. And I think he could be a touchdown machine, maybe like a Ramondre Stevenson. Put him on the goal line, let him get 10 to 12 touchdowns in a season. And maybe that's his role. Maybe it's like a little Garrett Blunt type role. Who knows? But there's a lot there that I like, and I'm really rooting for Phil Maffa coming this upcoming season. And I do think that he could possibly elevate his game and develop into a nice NFL back.
Oh, I think you've been a Phil Maffa guy for years, so I'm not surprised
Yeah,
at all that he's on this list. I know you've been kind of waiting. He's going to get the full rock this year. So we're going to
can't
see what
wait.
he can do getting that bell cow roll. I'm going to go with a guy who's a little under the radar right now, and that's Jamarian Miller from Alabama.
Mm,
Let's not forget, 2 years ago, he was the RB4 for both 24/7 Sports and One and On Three in the recruiting cycle. And as we know, Alabama running backs got to wait their turn, and he's probably got to wait his turn a little bit more even this year because he's playing with Justice Haynes, who I believe is going to get the majority of the carries. But Jam Miller, he's flashed. He hasn't gotten the ball in his hands last 2 years, a lot. But I think it's going to be a 1-2 punch with these guys. And if something were to happen to Haynes where he does get nicked up, I mean, Jamari Miller, I think, is going to be the guy they're going to lean on. And I'm pretty excited about him. He has shown flashes to me. Doesn't
yeah.
have elite speed, kind of like Phil Maffa, but I think he's got, the power. I think he's got some good footwork. So I'm excited to see. And like Jamari Miller is a name in Devy, man, that like nobody's talking about right now. And, whether he declares for the NFL draft as a true junior next year, one can only, who knows. But I don't know. Alabama running backs have a way of hitting our rosters, and Jason McClellan, he's off to the NFL. Roydell Williams is in Florida State right now, so it's going to be
Mhm.
him and Haynes. So I don't know. Don't be surprised if he kind of busts out, but he's going to be somebody I'm going to be watching all season.
Yeah, I think that's a good call too. Jim Miller's a guy that I've always liked. It's just we wait for the opportunity with these Alabama running backs, and hopefully that's
Mhm.
this season. I'm gonna go to another running back, and Jalen Wright is off to the Miami Dolphins, leaving Dylan Sampson an opportunity to really see the century mark in yardage. He hasn't gotten there because he shares the workload quite a bit with Jamar Small and Jalen Wright, but Dylan Sampson is very similar to me, like a James Cook. He's got that, sub 200 frame. I think he's like 5'11", 190, but the pass catching ability, the explosiveness, he's got that 4.33 speed, I believe. So he's an explosive athlete, good out of the backfield. I really like his receiving ability. They run him on the same type of routes that Jalen Wright was running, and I think that he could take a huge step this season. If you were a fan of James Cook, you're really going to love Dylan Sampson, and I think he could really showcase himself and turn into one of those explosive running backs that goes on the NFL radar.
Yeah, I think he's gonna have a great opportunity down there this year, for sure down
Mhm.
there in Tennessee. All right, I'm gonna get off the running backs here for a little bit. I'm gonna go with, one of my favorite players, the wide receiver, Juice Wells, baby. I mean,
Oh,
how can I have a
Juice.
2025 my guys without talking about my boy Juice Wells, right? So
Right.
Antoine Wells Jr., if you want to like Google him, that's who I'm talking about. But he's got a nickname is Juice. He played 2 years at James Madison, 2 years at South Carolina. He was nicked up, last year, but he did get on the field for one game last year. I don't know if you remember. I think we talked about it. Jason, he got on the field against
Mhm.
Georgia and had one pass and weaved in between like 5 or 6 players, but that foot kind of got re-injured. They just basically sat him for the majority of the season. But he's going to be a fifth-year player, so he's an older player. But I'm going to throw a little comp out there because it's recency is in everyone's mind. An Xavier Leggett kind of
Just
player,
gonna say that.
a guy who,
Yeah.
nobody really knew about, but I'll tell you what, then he flashed at South Carolina. Now, what I love about Juice Wells is he now is out of South Carolina and now he's playing with at Old Miss with Jackson Dart. Love the fact that he, stayed in the SEC and he's going to play against the big boys in the SEC conference. I love myself some Juice Wells. He's a guy nobody's talking about. Nobody's talked about him for years because it's, that's the world we live in,
Right.
out of mind is out of sight, out of mind, right? So, but he's going to be back on the field this year. Don't be surprised if Juice Wells is a day two pick in the NFL draft next year.
Yeah, I mean, I know the Carolina Panthers aren't the best decision makers, but Xavier Leggett going in the first round changed everything I will ever think about fifth-year players with limited production.
They don't care
Anything is
about it
possible
anymore.
now.
They don't care
Right,
about
they don't care about it anymore. Exactly. I'm gonna go with another guy that I really liked. You and I
it.
did a
Mhm.
film study on him a
Yep.
while back, and we both kind of way came away pretty impressed with his route running ability and just his skill set alone. That's Clemson wide receiver Antonio Williams coming back from injury, seems fully healthy, and I think he's going to take that next step. I know the analytic community is going to be a little bit thrown off because of his low production profile that he's going to
Mhm.
have. I am banking on him really taking that next step in his development this year. Even if he has like a Lad McConkey type of production profile, I'm good with it. I think he's phenomenal at the top of his routes. I think he's a fantastic manipulator. I like his release arsenal that he has. He's got the rhythm and tempoed speed. He knows exactly how to execute the gear change at the right timing. I just think that he's got everything the NFL is going to be looking for. I think he probably could play on the outside or in the slot, but he'll make his money in the slot with his size. And I like his build. He's got a pretty thick build to him, too. So if he's healthy and the quarterback plays up to par, I'm not going to be surprised if we're talking about Antonio Williams, very similar to like we did at like a Zay Flowers, Lad McConkey this time next year.
Yeah, it's great. And my only thing with that is if Klubnik can accurately get the ball to
I
him.
know, man. That's
Klubnik
why I
is
threw in the QB play because it's
oof.
erratic.
I mean, God,
It's
even the
erratic.
spring game, he looked like shit,
Horrible, horrible.
horrible.
Yeah.
So, all right, I'm going to go with another fifth-year wide receiver. That's how much I don't think the NFL really cares anymore about how old these guys are. I think that ship has long sailed, and especially if you're looking
Agreed.
for a one-year contract for a wide receiver, I'm going to go with Trey Harris. I'm going back to Juice's Wells' new teammate at Old Miss. I was a little disappointed. I'm not going to lie. Last year, he didn't declare as a true senior last year for the NFL draft, but he had 1 year of eligibility, decided to come back and play. So I don't knock players when they do that in the future, man. But this guy, I just put a couple X tweets out there showing this guy working the boundary. I think he's physical. I think he's got really good yak ability. I think he's 6'2", like 205, 206, something like that. So he's got good size and build. But I really like Trey Harris. I'm projecting him to be a day two pick in the draft next year. Somebody maybe like a Javon Baker type who, again, goes to he was a 4 year player
Hmm.
who got drafted in early the day. Was he day three, Javon Baker, or was he round?
He was a fourth rounder. Yeah,
Yeah,
early
yeah,
day
early
3.
day
Yep.
three. So maybe Trey Harris goes up, but I'm excited to watch that Ole Miss wide receiver room this year. I think there's two potential day two wide receivers on that squad.
Yeah, Trey Harris is one I definitely need to watch. Jackson Dart just keeps developing every single year, so if
Mhm.
he develops even further, that's really good news for Trey Harris. Yeah, and my last guy that I'm gonna talk about is a transfer from Washington going over to Alabama, and that's gonna be wide receiver Jeremy Bernard. I really liked what I saw from just his explosiveness at his size. Was he 6'1", 203? Very explosive, twitchy athlete. He's got that gear change into the second level, so I think there's some underrated speed with him. Washington really liked really like to use his versatility on the outside, on the inside, and then they even used him as a rusher a few times, getting him involved in endo rounds, even scoring touchdowns that way. So going over to Alabama in the spring game, he looked like he could possibly be the wide receiver one there this upcoming season, and that's huge. So Jeremy Bernard, I think, is the guy that we'll be talking about a lot more in the next couple months, and it would not surprise me if he's the wide receiver one or two for Alabama, and that's a huge boost for a guy who is basically what the fourth wide receiver on Washington last year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great call. Alabama's still looking for that wide receiver to
Yeah,
really take
step
the
up.
take a step, right, step up. All right. Last guy I want to talk
Yeah.
about, tight ends need love too, god damn it. I'm going to talk about a tight end in my top, 25 my guys, and I want to go with Ben Urasek. This guy, I got a stat here for you. Since 2021, Urasek has had 1,338 yards. Okay. And in that stretch between then and now in 2021, there's only been three other tight ends that have had the same amount of production yardage wise, and that's Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer, and Dalton Kincaid. All right.
Wow.
Now, the last 2 years, playing at Stanford, he has not been great. The quarterback play has been subpar. McKee was there, I think, 2 years ago. But here, all of a sudden now he transfers to Georgia. He's going to share the tight end room with Oscar Delp, right? And you go watch the film on this guy. He's physical. He's athletic. I think he's got run after the catch ability. And my favorite thing about him is he's got that dog in him, man. He loves the
Mhm.
contact, loves to initiate contact. He drives guys like into the ground blocking. And when he's got the ball in his hands, he fights for every yards and looks to punish defenders. So he's got that toughness that I look for in football players, but he's got the nimble hands. He's got the good footwork. I think he's a whole package. And right now, if you look at the tight end room in the 2025 draft, everyone's got, Colston, the kid from Michigan as the guy, right? As the tight end one. I'm not so sure. I won't be surprised at all if Ben Urasek with Carson Beck has a fantastic year, and a lot of good Georgia running backs or tight ends going to the NFL lately.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing I love about him too is the fact that he looked at the Georgia tight end room and said, okay, Oscar Delp, okay, Lawson Lucky. And I think Pierce Spurlin's still there too. He's like, I'll take that competition and I'll
Mhm.
beat all of you out. And we're not talking about chumps. I mean, Oscar Delp is not a chump. So
Right.
I love the fact that he's not scared of competition. He has that much confidence to transfer to Georgia and say, I'm gonna take over that job. That's huge. I love that.
Yeah. That Spearling guy had to medically retire from football with a heart issue.
Oh,
So,
okay. I did not
which
know
is a
that.
bummer.
All
He
right.
was a,
That is
a
a bummer.
C2C selection a while back. So, all right, Jason, I appreciate it, man. There you
Wow.
guys go. That is our 2025 My Guys episode. We'll have to come back in 10 months and see how we did. So.
Right. Yeah.